and recycling practices, and to give local and regional authorities the right knowledge and tools to improve their models. And of course, ultimately, we aim to bridge the current gap in the biological cycle to enrich our soils with high quality composts. So 5 organizations are behind the project: the AND Foundation, the Association of Cities and Regions for the Sustainable Resource Management, also called ACR+, the Italian Compost and Biogas Consortium, and the European Compost Network, and of course ourselves, Zero Waste Europe. In a few words, for those who don't know our organization, Zero Waste Europe is a Brussels-based NGO working on advocacy at the EU level to promote more ambitious and effective waste policies. But we are also a network of 35 organizations implementing zero waste strategies at national and local level across Europe. And we are organizing this webinar today on behalf of all the live BioBEST partners that I presented you before. So just to let you know, lots of new resources, tools, knowledge will be produced and shared as part of BioBEST. And just to give you a quick overview, we are currently working on validating best practices and key performance indicators and developing guidelines for the sector. So we are and we will be organizing a lot of events during these 2.5 years for cities and also for organizations such as webinars as today, but also capacity building events and cooperation working group. I will, at the end of the webinar, let you know the next dates so you can put them in your calendar. So just before we start this webinar, I would like to recommend to any of you that might be interested in the project activities to visit our website, livebiobest.eu. We will put it now in the chat so you can have a look. And on this website, you can find the latest findings, the latest events, etc. Okay, so that being said, we can go now to the main topic of today and the reason you're all here. So in this webinar, we will be asking an important question and quite timely one as well: how to best collect biowaste in high density areas. So as you know, this is a particularly interesting and urgent topic, given the implementation of the new EU rule mandating member states to separately collect biowaste from January 1st, 2024. So this is coming soon. And we can see that the situations in EU member states is quite diverse. So the performance of existing separate collection systems can vary considerably, both in terms of quantities collected, but also quality. However, we all know today that implementing an efficient separate collection system for biowaste is the key to achieving good recycling targets in other streams. Biowaste represents almost half of our residual waste and is also the main source of impurities in other streams. So that's why it's really key to target that. So given this, what are the key elements of such high-performing biowaste collection system? The one at least we can observe. Biowaste represents almost half of our residual waste. Someone is, Simone, can you put yourself in mute, please? Thank you. Sorry for that. So as I was saying, given this, what are the key elements of such high-performing biowaste collection systems, especially in the most challenging context that we know, which is a city, of course, and that's why we decided to focus today's webinar on high-density areas. Why a city is challenging? We have high-rise buildings, limited space, a growing population to reach, a wide variety of commercial activities generating biowaste. We also have different nationalities and languages, but also tight budgets. So all of this add extra layers of complexity when designing and implementing biowaste separate collections. Complex, of course, but it's not impossible. And that's exactly what we are going to try and demonstrate today. So we will draw on examples of best practices in 3 different countries and local contexts. The first one is Lübeck, Baltic coast, so very interesting case as well. Then we will present the case of Bratislava, the famous capital of Slovakia, and of course Milan, the capital of Lombardy and Italy's second most populous city after Roma. So each of our 3 speakers will give a 10-minute presentation. After each presentation, we will have 10 minutes for clarifying questions. So feel free to use the Q&A box for that. At the end of these presentations, we will have a summary of the lesson learned from the 3 cases. And the last 15 minutes of the webinar will be devoted to a joint question and answer session and discussion with all the speakers. So as regarding the webinar tools, you have a chat box, so feel free to introduce yourself using the chat function, as some of you already did. Thank you all. And then you have the Q&A tool to ask questions. So please submit your questions only on the Q&A tool. Then I can pass them on to the speakers. We are also streaming this on YouTube Live. So those joining via YouTube, you can also submit the question in the chat there, and this will be relayed back to me and I can pass them on to the speakers. So, okay, without further delays, we can start the discussion with our first speaker. I'm happy to introduce you Stefan Walk. Stefan is a scientific officer at ECN. ECN is also part of the BIOBEST project. That's why Stefan has this beautiful background behind him. He spent many years working in the field of bioresources and circular economy. He has experience in waste management, system analysis, concept development for new collection systems, but also implementation in case studies. And he has co-authored several scientific publications and technical reports. And he's actually currently in the process to complete his PhD at the Hamburg University of Technology, when he was member of the Bioresource Management Group. So today he will present us the results of the Lübeck neighborhood case study on food waste collection. This case study has been conducted as part of the Decisive project, which was a project funded by EU Horizon 2020. So he will present that to us. And then he will also give us an outlook on future follow-up projects, such as KUKOM, funded by the Dutch Bundesstiftung Umwelt. So Stefan, thank you for being with us today. And now the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mano. So I can definitely skip my whole introduction. That's perfect. So I get some more minutes. I will share my screen. Give me a second. So I hope you can see it. All right. Okay. So yeah, thank you very much for this introduction. So I'm going to speak about a case study that we performed a couple of years ago in the northern German city of Lübeck during my time as a scientist at the Hamburg University of Technology. Just a very short overview of the agenda. I'm going to present a little bit about the situation in the city of Lübeck, the general status of biowaste collection, and then about the trials we performed to improve food waste collection in densely populated areas. So the city of Lübeck is situated in the northern part of Germany at the Baltic Sea. It is called the City of the Seven Towers that you can see here on the pictures. It's the old town, which is a UNESCO heritage site, so very nice to visit. This area is also very densely populated. Overall, the city has around 220,000 inhabitants, lots of green areas, very touristic at the coast, but as well very densely populated in some areas. So the waste management in Lübeck is performed by the Entsorgungsbetriebe Lübeck, short abbreviation EBL, which are the public entities since 1995 in the city of Lübeck. They are not only responsible for waste collection, but also for wastewater management. And they collect waste in door-to-door. That's the bio-waste, which is a mixed food and green waste fraction, as very common in Germany, dry recyclables, paper, and residual waste. All the other waste, they are usually collected in recycling centers. Some figures about the system. More than 90% of inhabitants are connected to biowaste collection. Residual waste is fully enrolled. Both waste types are collected 26 times per year, which is a fortnightly collection frequency, and optionally also residual waste weekly collection. The fee system only includes a fixed fee system. There's no fee for bio-waste, at least until the same size of bin as the residual waste bin. But there's a minimum bin volume per inhabitant of 20 liters for residual waste. In relation to bio-waste, there's a restriction for supporting materials. Only paper and paper bags are allowed. No plastic and also no biodegradable plastic bags are allowed in the bio-waste system. Some of figures on the left-hand side, you can see the generation of waste per capita per year. Around 200 kilograms of residual waste is produced, which is quite a large quantity. Around 60 to 70 kilograms per inhabitant of bio-waste, and then separately collected as well some more green waste through the recycling centers. It's around 30 kilograms. On the right-hand side, you can see the current status or the initial status of waste composition of bio-waste and residual waste compared to the German situation, the city of Lübeck, and multifamily house areas in the city of Lübeck. What can be seen in general in all of the figures is that mainly green waste is present in bio-waste. And it was a bit surprising that it was also the case for multifamily houses, which actually don't really have gardens. What is not so easy to spot on this figure is that the contamination level in multifamily houses compared to the average is around 64% higher in multifamily houses. The situation in Lübeck in general is quite good, with around 1% of contamination. But so to say, the problem is that there's mainly garden waste in the bio-waste bin. So only around 25% of food waste is sorted correctly, 75% still end up in residual waste. And this situation we were aiming to change. So what have we done? We set up a trial concept for food waste collection, where we aimed at decoupling food waste and green waste collection. We also removed the original bio-waste bin and provided each household in a multifamily houses with small collection buckets. Those were collected 3 times per week, and we accompanied this trial with an intense information and communication campaign, being leaflets, a small event, and also interviews with residents. So we selected 2 areas in the city of Lübeck, which also should represent socioeconomic differences. And there we selected a certain number of households to be involved in this trial. On the right-hand side, you see the timeline of this whole project. We evaluated the situation as it was in the initial phase, in the ex-ante phase, with the original bio-waste collection system for a couple of weeks. Right after we implemented the intervention, so that lasted around 5 weeks. And then going back to the original system, but we wanted to see if this intervention had an effect on the long term. We evaluated again the performance of bio-waste collection 6 months and 12 months after trial. So as a first result, during the trial phase, we evaluated the participation of inhabitants. We could trace this because each household got an anonymous number, so we could trace their participation. So on the right-hand side, the figures show the overall participation, which is each household setting out their bio-waste bucket at least once in the trial. So we had an overall participation of 75%. And a weekly or a collection day specific participation of between 30 and 50%, which you can see on the left-hand side. So that being said, how many households set out their bin per collection day? So now the most important findings about the food waste sorting. So the T0 you can see on the left-hand side is the ex-ante situation. Very little food waste was actually sorted correctly into the bio-waste bin, a maximum of 15%. So even in these areas, it was lower than the average in the city of Lübeck. And in the trial phase at T1, we managed to collect more than 1 kilogram of food waste per inhabitant and week. That corresponds to 65% of the generated food waste, so an intense increase of separate collection. In the long-term phases, we saw again a reduction, but it was still much better, the sorting performance, than in the ex-ante situation. So the long-term effect, we can still see this as a success, especially since we were, it was a small study that we could not extend for longer, but I will tell you later a bit more about the future plans with this study. Impurities were actually only a problem in area A, in the left-hand side. 5% of impurities were there in the ex-ante situation. In area B, the impurities were always below 1%. The issue there was that there was a lot of paper used for wrapping, so 13 to 15% of paper was in there, which is not represented here since it's not considered an impurity. But especially in T1, we can see that also in area B, impurities remained low. And if you consider that usually with the green waste, you have a washing out effect. And in the T1 phase, we had 95% of food waste actually in the bin. This is a great success that impurities did not increase, since impurities mainly come from the kitchen and not from the gardens. So some conclusions to this study before I will show you a future prospect, what's going to happen next. We definitely need specific concepts for densely populated areas. We cannot have the same system related in relation to single family houses where each individual has their own bin. So also individual collection can be a key in densely populated areas in comparison to one bin for everyone, and no one cares who is throwing what. The focus on food waste is also a key in these areas, since that's mainly what comes from the households. There's very little garden waste. So the collection could be independent from food waste and garden waste. And as well, high collection frequency is a key. So it should be at least twice as high as residual waste collection, ideally a minimum of 2 times per week. And we also realized that it is really important to have the measures clear and in a repeated manner, at least once a year. It is not enough to only communicate your changes or certain activities once. You have to repeat them to keep everything at a good level. But also we realized that we need more measures and also a more long-term evaluation of the system, and to elaborate a full concept that also looks at the transportation to the treatment site. So for this, I will give you a very small outlook what is going to happen in the next 3 years. There's a new project, it's called KUBCOM, which is a German abbreviation for plastics in compost. And this project looks at reducing plastics in compost in the final product from the start, from the collection over the treatment to the final use. And one part is the elaboration or further elaboration of the collection concept with a high collection frequency. Again, the provision of sorting equipment, which you can see on the right-hand side. Low emission transportation, at least partly with cargo bikes, and the integration of this waste collection in a neighborhood caretaker concept. And that's finally how it will look like. We did some preliminary studies already where we got this figure of 4,000 to 6,000 households that can be served by one cargo bike weekly. This waste, the waste collected, the food waste collected, will then be collected to an underground storage container. And from there, it can be collected to the treatment site with regular trucks. So this project, as I said, it will be ongoing in the next 3 years. And we are very much looking forward to evaluate the outcome of this concept. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Stefan. I will just start. Sorry. I think you cannot see me. I will just ask Nana to turn on my video again so we can go into Q&A. Okay, great. So we have a few questions for you and we have 5 minutes to answer them. The first one comes from Isabel Botts. What were the criteria to select the household for this trial, the trials you did in these 2 areas, I guess, in Lübeck? Did you look at the difference in demography?
Yes, so it was several layers that we went through. First of all, we had a discussion with the housing associations there that usually organize large building blocks. And there we asked also for more details about the demographics. But also in the first stage, we actually looked at the neighborhoods and some statistics about employment rates, the age, education. And from there, we narrowed it down. And then finally, we had to find the housing associations that were willing to collaborate with us. So this was the process of selecting those areas.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then we have another question, interesting one actually, because this was also my question, from Pao Reina, I guess it's Pauline maybe. She's asking, why are compostable bags not allowed in Lübeck and more generally in Germany? It's true that
So it's actually true. We have very few areas in Germany where these compostable bags are allowed, and it's mainly the concern of the treatment operators that these are actually not degraded. And there are some ongoing studies. Actually, just recently there was a study published in Germany about the fate of those biodegradable plastic bags until soil. And the current conditions in the processes in Germany, they do not allow a full degradation. Even though it's anaerobic digestion and composting, in the end, there's still particles left. And the big issue or the big concern is actually the microplastic particles that are not being measured, because the legislation only requires to measure until 1 millimeter now. And everything below is not measured. And there are still very few studies on that, on the fate of microplastics in soil. Yeah.
So yeah, what you're saying is that even though it's compostable, like the risk that it's still, like the compost produced still contains microplastic is quite high, and we do not have a way to measure it actually. So there is a high like a risk of injuries. Okay.
Yes. So that's,
but then like it goes together with another question from an anonymous attendee. So what do you think of the paper which is present in the collection bins then? How could paper not be considered as contamination, given that there are many chemicals and plastic used in the paper as well, and this could leave macroplastic in compost?
I mean, this is as well a certain issue that is a bit, let's say, contradictory discussed in Germany as well. So newspaper, they contain a lot of materials. Also kitchen paper, it has this I don't remember the name in English, like this wet, this soaking up effect. So there's also a chemical in there. It is not discussed as vastly as biodegradable plastics, but it is true. It is also paper bags that can have a coating that is petrochemical origin. It's not as discussed as much as biodegradable plastic bags, I can say, but it can definitely be an issue. And also actually in this new project that is going on, also these materials, they will be evaluated in paper.
Okay, great. Very interesting. So we look forward to the results of this project then. Okay, so unfortunately, we do not have much more time for question and answers, but yeah, for the participants, we will have 15 minutes at the end. So yeah, if we have time at the end of the webinar, we will answer the remaining questions. Okay, so now it's time for me to introduce to our second speakers. Her name is Ivana Males. She's a circular economy expert, co-founder of the Institute for the Circular Economy in Slovakia. And Ivana is also working as an expert for the city of Bratislava since 2019, where she coordinates circularity project for the city. And she's been involved more particularly in the introduction of the recently introduced Bratislava kitchen waste collection system. So today she will present you the key elements that have enabled the rapid success of Bratislava kitchen waste collection system, as well as the challenges ahead. Thank you for being with us, Ivana, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Manon, for introduction. So I think I can go directly to my presentation to tell you more about how we implemented the kitchen waste collection in the city of Bratislava. I don't know whether you are familiar with our capital. It's the capital. So Bratislava is the capital of Slovakia, and it has it has 500,000 inhabitants that live in, mostly of them live in high-rise and high-density areas, in high-rise buildings, and only around 20,000 households from 220,000 households live in family houses. So what was actually the first step that we took before we actually started talking about introducing the kitchen waste collection was that we launched our strategy for, it was a strategy for waste management, but with the certain steps towards circular economy, because we want Bratislava to be a circular city. And we are doing on many various projects that are approved in the strategy. It was approved in March in 2021. And now this year, we also made the evaluation of our strategy, like how we are actually succeeding in reaching our targets. One of the goals that was defined in this strategy was also introducing the kitchen waste collection. But the main reason why actually it was included also in the strategy was because our Waste Act is obliged all the cities in Slovakia to introduce the kitchen waste collection in 2022. And for Bratislava and Košice, it was the 1st of January 2023, because we had an exception from the law, because Bratislava and Košice have the incineration plant. So we needed like a longer time maybe to adjust our system because we have the incineration plant. So this was like the main reason why we actually started in 2021 to organize how actually to introduce the system. To tell you more about our statistics this is the statistic from 2022. We are collecting now 196,000 tons of the municipal waste, and it's around 413 or 414 kilograms per capita. So according to the average amount of waste in Europe, we are like collecting a little bit more, or actually producing less waste than other cities or other countries. And as you can see, this left chart, it's a bit like going up and down, and it's because of the lack of data that we have. So it's not maybe always correct data that we have about our municipal waste. But what can we actually say about this amount, that the amount is dropping down, that this data is correct, because we have our own municipal data about the residual waste, and we know that amounts of residual waste are dropping down every year. So these are the numbers from the study that was done in 2021 as a preparation process for introduction of kitchen waste. We know that we have the kitchen waste and the garden waste that we are actually collecting separately, because we have a different also treatment plant for the garden waste and for kitchen waste. It is allowed to collect the kitchen waste and garden waste together in Slovakia, but we didn't want to do that. And the reason is that we have to, our kitchen waste needs to or needs to be hygienized. So it needs to be treated to 80 degrees by 24 hours. So we there to kill all the pathogens. And I know that this is not the rule for other countries, and we didn't want to do this for our garden waste. So this is why we actually separated these two kinds of bio waste. Introduction of kitchen waste was the biggest change in waste collection for past 2 decades, because 20 years ago there was introduction of collection of paper, plastics, and other sorted materials. But for the whole city, this kind of change was not done for 2 decades. So we had to really start preparing ourselves. And this is why we started in 2020 when we made like a public procurement for study on kitchen waste, because we knew that the city of Bratislava didn't have any experts on collection of kitchen waste. So our main partner was an NGO called Zenzo that had experts from different countries for kitchen waste collection, and our main consultant was Marco Ricci, who will also speak today. So we also had to prepare like a local act according to which will the whole collection operate. That was the process that took us like for like half of the year. And then in the August 2021, we selected one small area where we did a pilot project for the kitchen waste collection, and it was Lamac. I will show you on the map why. And after this pilot project, we also introduced the kitchen waste collection in other parts of Bratislava. This is the whole Bratislava, and Lamac is the smallest part of it, but it has high density buildings. It has a high rise. It's close to the woods, so we had like all different kinds of structure of the houses where we can like pilot the projects. And this was the plan of the implementation. So as you can see, from the March till November, December, we were planning like every city part by part to introduce the kitchen waste. The southern part, you can see the Petržalka. It's the biggest part of the city, and so the biggest district, and there are 100,000 people living in this district. So it was really important to introduce the kitchen waste collection in this part. And it took us a little bit longer time than in other parts. This is the only just to see the whole communication channels. It's I'm sorry, it's in Slovak, but just to see the complexity of how many organizations were involved. So we involved all the districts. We involved all many offices in the city, and also all of the collection company. So we distributed kitchen caddies to every household. This is our crew that was one of the crews that was distributing the kitchen caddies. This is for the family houses. Every household got the kitchen caddy, 100 pieces of compostable bags, and information leaflet. And for each city district, we had a different leaflet. Kitchen waste is done twice a week from March till end of November. This is the bin for the household in family house. And from November to March, it's only done once a week. Every household in the high-rise buildings collects the kitchen waste into kitchen caddy, and then in actually a compostable bag, and then it puts the bag into the bin that is in front of the house. We have been doing really intensive communication in television, in local television, in the local radio, in, of course, the social media. We have done a lot of articles in local newspapers, because we know that older people don't maybe use the social media. Well, they watch TV, but they read the local newspapers. And these are the results. We have 220,000 households, and 140,000 households are involved in kitchen waste collection. It's around 65%. And the collection for the whole city started in December 2022. So this is the point where we introduced the kitchen waste in the whole city. So we managed actually to start the collection by January 1st, 2023, according to our law. And so far we have collected more than 10,000 tons of kitchen waste. And the last year it was 4,300, and this year it's 6,000 tons. And what we are doing now, we are continuing in distributing the compostable bags and kitchen caddies to new families or to new households. But because we have left a lot of compostable bags from the previous previous period of the project, so we decided to distribute all the compostable bags because they might degrade if we don't do that. So that was my brief presentation. I hope I managed. Oh, so I overlapped with 3 minutes.
Yes.
With my presentation, but feel free.
Thank you so much.
Any questions?
Yeah, perfect. We have actually a few questions. Thank you so much, Ivana. That's a very inspiring story, actually, because very quickly, I think that Slava managed to reach the good results. So it's a good example. So we have a few questions in the chat, and we have about 7 minutes to answer them. So it's a bit more than for Stefan. The first one is from Carlo from Italy. He's asking, do you have anaerobic digestion plants or aerobic composting plants? Do you promote home composting? How do you collect compostable packaging and cutlery?
Yes.
So it's quite a long question. Maybe you can answer to the first parts. If you have, if Bratislava have anaerobic digestion plan or aerobic composting plan.
Okay, so Bratislava doesn't have its own. I'm sorry, my internet is a bit unstable now, so and
that's okay. We
I
hear
hope you can hear me. Okay, so we don't have our own plant yet. We are just in the beginning of building it because we had some problems with permitting the whole plant, and we were planning on to build a composting plant, but now the city and Olo, they just decided to change a little bit of plans and to build anaerobic digestion, so the dry AD plant together with the composting plant, actually to use, of course, the biogas and also to compost it afterwards and use the compost. Now we are delivering our kitchen waste to external company, which is making this biochar the granules for agriculture. So this is how actually our kitchen waste is treated. So it's treated by a biogas station, so anaerobic digestion, and then it is carbonized into this small biochar granules that is used in the agriculture. And yes, we are promoting, of course, the home composting. This is how we started in 2019. We also have 65 like home composting, like composters in these high density areas. But most of the people chose, of course, the collection because they have their jobs and very fast lifestyle, so they are actually more interested in collection than in home composting. So this is like something that we are having, but it's not like the main direction that we are going with the composting.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question from Melinde. Is there a specific reason for the extra hygienic treatment for the kitchen waste in your legislation?
Well, it's really a long discussion for many years. Like, why do we actually need it when Austria doesn't need it and it's like the country next door? This decision was made many years ago, and it's actually something that we are kind of struggling with, that we know that it's not actually needed much, that we can also do it without, but it's how it's done. And so all the kitchen waste needs to be treated according to our law. Like this, but it's a great discussion when experts are trying to change this, but we are still not moving forward to this direction now.
Okay, thank you. So we still have a few more minutes, so let's go for more questions, if that's fine. Yeah. So we have another one from Eric De Vries, who's asking, do you know anything about the response and the contamination levels in Bratislava?
Okay. So the contamination level was measured last year. We did analysis of kitchen waste in different city districts. We took, of course, the biggest ones, Petržalka and Ružino, and it was 0.5%. So it was a very good quality of collection. But we didn't do analysis this year so far. We requested a lot to do this. So we don't know the results, but we know that people started to use plastic bags because they ran off the 150 that we already gave them. So this is like the main contamination. For our treatment facility, it's not a problem because they have this unpacking system before the kitchen waste enters the technology. So they say like it's not a problem for them. But we know that, as also I think other colleagues will talk about, the pollution with microplastic. This is like our concern that we have while using the non-compostable bags.
Yes, indeed. Okay, thank you. Maybe one more question from Lauriane. So Lauriane is asking, first, she's thanking you for the presentation, but then she's asking, how did you create a market for the biochar? Has it been easy? And is the biochar accepted by the farmers? I think it's an important question, because this has been mentioned as a barrier for many city officials, and yeah.
Well, this is a private plant, so this was we know that this project it was supported from the EU funding, and it was not kind of our concern to find the market, but we know that this private plant, because we went to see them and we talked about like the technology and everything with them, they said like it's the market is starting to open, and they are making like the various mixes of compost together with biochar. It really depends on the soil that this fertilizer is put in. So it really depends, but they say like they don't have any like problems or struggles like to with this, but it's a small plant, and around I think 40,000 tons. It's, I mean, not very small, but it's like a smaller, and they started very small. But what is important that they are not only collecting kitchen waste, they are also collecting the, I don't know how to say that, like when you grow animals and you have like their
manure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, because they have dry ID, they have this other ID plant, and they also have the composting plant. So all together they are managing to treat many kinds of like biological waste, not just kitchen waste, and create this biochart.
Thank you so much, Ivana. So unfortunately, Ivana has to run away to her team meeting. She allocated a bit of her time for us today, so thank you so much. And just for the participants, the question that have not been addressed to Ivana right now, I will write her down, and she offered to answer to them per email. So I can, if you want to write your email address, maybe in the chat, so I can make sure to come back to you. Or so that's we can do it this way maybe. Okay, so this is time for me now to present you to our third speaker, Simone Orsi. Simone, is a waste and marketing specialist and circular economy expert at AMSA. AMSA is a company which manages the waste of Milan and 16 hinterland municipalities. Simone is a project manager in awareness-raising projects and communication campaigns, and he is also an expert in environmental communication and a training expert in waste management. So today he will present us the well-known BIOBEST separate collection system of the city of Milan and the critical factors behind its success. Okay, Simone,
okay.
the floor is yours.
Thank you all
for being with us.
for your presentation. And okay, I start. Okay. I have to switch, right?
Yes.
Sì, vediamo lo schermo presentatore.
Sì, sì. Allora.
Con le tue note.
I don't. I'm not seeing the bar at the top to switch between the. Okay. Okay. No, now I see it. Okay, here we are.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for that. Okay, so I will be talking about the waste management in Milan. Milan is the second largest city in Italy with 1.4 million inhabitants. A very high density of more than 7,000 inhabitants per square kilometer. And you see on the right, we, as AMSA is the waste management company, and we manage the city of Milan that you see in white and the surrounding cities of Milan. We collected in 2022 more than 600,000 tons of municipal waste. We reached 62% of separate collection. We have a door-to-door waste collection system with 55,000 collection points, which is every door in Milan, 1,400 vehicles for waste collection and cleaning services, which of 33% are run on CNG. We also manage the cleaning with the waste bins with 23,000 bins in streets and parks in the city. And also we have 800,000 commuters every day, so we have much more waste than the residents can produce. Basically, we have our integrated waste cycle is focused on recovery of waste, on recycling. So we have a door-to-door waste collection with the 5 fractions that we collect that we send to recycling, including organic waste. And the residual waste is sent for energy production in an incinerator. So here's our waste collection. So we have the 5 fractions that we collect at home. So paper and cardboard, glass and organic, in bins and bags So you see the bins. Organic waste is collected twice a week, glass once a week, paper once a week, and cardboard also. Then we have plastic and metals and residual waste in bags that we also collect once a week. So I said 55,000 collection points. So that's what we call our system door to door. And all the city is served. The whole city is served with this 100% system. And waste storage is in every building. And I will talk extensively about this particular thing. The collection is in the morning between 5:30 and 12 a.m. Monday, Saturday. The city center is served before 8 a.m. in the morning. So here are some data. So that's what we collected as municipal waste in 2022. You see the main fractions, and 600,000 tons, and organics make a lot of this 600,000 tons, with 136,000 tons of organics, which is the second fraction after residual waste, which is still the most important fraction. But we have only 15%, 10-15% maximum of organic waste in the residual waste. So we have a high high collection rate of organic waste, which is mainly food waste. Only 3% is green waste. So opposed to Lübeck, we have mainly 97% is food waste, and then the other paper and cardboard, glass, and all and this make up 62% of separate collection, and also other types of waste, like electronic waste and green waste and other. So Milan is mainly high-rise, composed of high-rise buildings, 85%, and only 50% are single homes. So the main question is how we collect a good quality of how door-to-door waste system in Milan works, because the main thing is that it's a tradition in Milan's waste management. We have 100 years of tradition of door-to-door waste collection. You see the ancient old pictures on the left, and also the waste chutes, which were popular, but since 1999 now they are banned in favor of waste rooms. Because of course of hygiene issues, but it was a tradition to have waste collection in each building. So that's why, well, we are now with the waste rooms. Waste rooms are effective in each building, and we have also a special legislation, for when the municipality ask for requirements for these waste rooms. They have to be in each building. It could be in the courtyard, could be in another, could be open also area, or could be in the basement. But these are the requirements. They must be responsible for the waste management in the building. There has to be a bin washing system. This is particularly important with the waste bin, with the organic waste bin. The water collection system, it should be a tiled area if it's inside, if it's a closed room, and at least 0.18 square meter per inhabitant or theoretical user for each new building. So with this, we can assure that each building has sufficient space, enough space for for allowing to have separate collection in each house. So this is our evolution of so it took us 30 years to reach this performance, and actually the door-to-door separate waste collection of organic waste starting in 2012. So not at the beginning, and we have so that's the reason why we improved so much the waste recovery rate, the recycling rate from 36% to more than 50 and 62 right now. So that we first started with the commercial activities, our organic waste collection in 1997 with the canteens, restaurants and bars with 120-liter bin collection every day. Then 2012 became the households throughout the city, 120-liter bins and 10-liter kitchen bin, compostable bags, collection twice a week, and transparent bag for residual waste that we introduced to help divert the waste, the food waste from the general waste to the organic waste collection. And also in 2017, open markets, also we perform a collection after market of the food waste that is left. So basically all the food waste that is produced in Milan is covered by this strategy. So here is our brown bin and the small bin for single homes. The kitchen bin that we use compostable bags and is aerated to allow for optimal oxygenation of the bag. And so here are some data. So we recover 98 kilograms inhabitant a year of food waste. So it's not green waste, it's just food waste. And this is a high result. 30% of this is commercial waste that we collect together, and that's the overall quantity. And the quality is 95% is compostable material. So we still have 5% of non-compostable material on average in the whole city for the brown bin. So just a little. So we
Simone,
also invest.
Just to let you know that you have 1 more minute. So
okay.
sorry.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
We invested a lot in communication and projects, awareness projects. All these are schools, especially with schools and guided tours for the organic waste collection plants. Just also. Non-compostable plastic shopping bags are banned from 2011. This helps, of course, not to have them in organic bin. And that's the food waste collection in open markets, which is something that I think it's something that worked really good. It helped us recover a lot of green waste, food waste also from the food markets. Last thing is that we treat this food waste in our organic anaerobic digestion plant. We have 2 within our group, A2A. This La Chiarella plant was inaugurated just last year. That is treating 100 kilotons a year of organic waste, and we produce over 8 million cubic meter of biomethane and 20,000 tons a year of compost. And we also have another plant in Cavaglià. So 2 plants for the city of Milan. And so future projects, just we we're thinking about the implementation of some pay system and more customized services, and of course some prevention and reduction activities and campaigns. So thank you for your attention, and hope I stood in the time.
You did. Thank you so much, Simone, and sorry for speeding you up at the end. So this was very interesting, and we actually have a few questions for you and 5 minutes, about 5 minutes to answer. So the first one is from Lina from Estonia. She's asking you if the 120-liter bin is aerated or not, if you are using lining inside, and is it allowed to put bio-waste in a paper bag? So 3 questions in one.
Okay, yeah. Okay, no, the 120-liter bin is not aerated, it's just the kitchen bin. And so each family brings their own food scraps in this compostable bags. So inside the brown bin we have many kitchen compostable bags, compostable bags, and so there could be, you could put compostable, it must be compostable lining inside if you want, just to help you for your cleaning. And I told you that the cleaning of this brown bin is for the building, so the building must take care of the cleaning. We also provide cleaning services if you want, also as a company. And the last is paper bags are allowed. Yes, of course, yes. Paper bags are allowed as compostable bags.
Great. Yeah, thank you. So maybe a few more questions. One from Teresa Guerrero. When there are too many impurities in bio-waste, which one has been? Okay, I do not understand this question, so sorry. When there are too many impurities in bio-waste, or if it's incorrectly separated, how do you detect it? Which one has been from which house?
Oh, okay. We have so for each building we cannot say which of the family is responsible for the irregular, for the incorrect waste. So we also have controls. We have inspectors to check the quality of each fraction, and in particular the waste, the organic waste fraction. And but the fee, goes to the whole building. So that's all. We know that this is not optimal, but if we don't have any clue of what is but for that building anyway. So because the waste bin is outside each building, and so it doesn't stay outside. So we know that the waste is from that building, and if we find irregularities, we send the fee to this building, to that building. We cannot, of course, know which one, but then they will sort it out when they have to pay the fee, and they will have to be more, pay more attention to this.
Maybe one last question before the other presentation. We have a bunch of questions around compostable plastic in the bio bin and the impurities. So one is, do you accept? So yes, you accept compostable plastic, of course, in the bio bin. But the key question is, how is your experience with biodegradation of this material?
Okay, we have our new plant is conducting many tests of degradation, and they found that recirculating the material, you know, in the after the first selection phase, you know, so recirculating the material can help improve the degradation, the fully degradate, not full, but to better have a better degradation of the compostable material.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your presentation. So now it's time to welcome our fourth and last speaker, Marco Ricci, who's also part of the BIOBEST project. So Marco has 27 years of experience in planning municipal solid waste management, designing and upgrading collection and transport scheme, assessing recycling facilities with a focus on composting, of course, in Europe, but also in Latin America and Asia. He also supported the city of Milan in setting up the recycling scheme for kitchen waste in 2012, defined the strategy for organic waste diversion for the megacity of Sao Paulo in Brazil. And in recent years, he also supported other cities such as Paris, Madrid, Bratislava more recently, and Prague. So drawing on his experience on the subject, Marco will now present you his personal conclusions and lesson learned from the 3 cases that have been presented to you. After Marco's presentation, we will have a general Q&A, so you can continue to add questions to the Q&A box. And for the questions that haven't been answered, we will also try to answer them at the end. Thank you. Marco, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Manon, and good morning to all of you. I hope you can hear me because I'm broadcasting live from a bio-waste recycling facility, so I hope you can see me. I'll try to share my screen and just tell me if it is working. Just very briefly. It should. Just a second. So. Just tell me if you can see my screen. Yes, seems so.
We do. Thank you.
Okay, so I can start. Well, first of all, I think we had 3 very different cases which are shown to us this morning, and I try to focus very briefly on some of the elements or lessons learned that these 3 cases have in common. There could be much more to say about how bio-waste is recycled, but since the focus of this webinar organized by BIOBEST is focusing on how to collect, my comments will be focusing mainly on the collection scheme. Well, first of all, we learned on the 3 cities that all look at bio-waste as one word for 2 waste streams. And we learned also from the answers from Stefan, Ivan, and Simone that they are looking at kitchen waste, I would name it like this, which is mainly made out of food waste, which is the picture, and garden and park waste on the right. So these cities look at the bio-waste, looking at the 2 substreams which are composing bio-waste. I think the other element of success of these 3 experiences is that, as I told you, they're looking at bio-waste feedstock. They have supported households in sorting kitchen waste by a number of specific tools which have been selected and provided to households by local waste managers or by city authorities in order to gain a number of advantages. I will also briefly touch the topic of frequencies of collection and last but not least, communication and participation. Well, if we focus on feedstock, as said, all 3 cases focus their efforts in collecting mainly kitchen waste and dedicating to garden waste different stream. There are a number of advantages in doing so. And just to clarify, one is that you make the kitchen waste stream independent from seasonality. If you move from east to west in Europe, from north to south, you know that temperatures, sunlight, rainfall may significantly change the amount of bio-waste that you have to collect. So this approach is focusing on what's coming from the kitchen And we know that every household is producing kitchen waste, while garden waste is very often managed with different schemes. Normally, they are more cost convenient, and so they are dedicated in another way. And this gives also space and momentum to promote home composting. The other aspect, and I'm not going into the detail today, but it will be something that the BIOBEST project is going to address, is that these two waste streams have totally different bulk densities and a different content of water, which implies that the collection scheme, meaning the vehicles and the buckets and bins provided to households, need to be probably quite different. Last but not least, as said, all three experiences focus on kitchen waste, which is the most complex bio-waste stream to sort between the two, because it is rich in water, it can rotten, and it has leachate, so it must be managed in a hygienic, careful, and user-friendly way. Regarding user-friendliness, we saw that all three experiences tried to start the source separation by handing over to households a tool, a bucket. It may be vented like the one in the picture here. This is from Milan, or non-vented, but the concept is the bucket is suitable according to the type of waste that households have to sort. And normally we go for small volumes to limit bulk contaminants to be collected at home and in the kitchen. And by bulk contaminants, I may go from cardboard, but which is still compostable, but also we want to prevent plastics, cans, and any other voluminous waste to be separated by households together with kitchen waste. And as said, all schemes adopting also compostable liners, which means we want to avoid conventional plastic bags to go into the bio-waste recycling stream. So some cities choose paper bags, some others choose compostable bioplastic bags, and it's a way again of preventing plastic residues end up in digestate or compost or in biochar also. Last but not least, and this was one of the questions I could spot during the written question that you had, waste bags have an advantage of keeping the waste receptacles cleaner, which means that all the maintenance of the receptacles, the cleaning and rinsing of bins and buckets is significantly enhanced. And we know that the more clean a separate collection scheme is, the more likely it is that households are going to use it. Again, looking at the tools, we have learned that all schemes presented today are collecting waste at the doorstep. And I think especially in the case of Lübeck, it was very clear that the test done in Lübeck aiming to have a one-to-one relation between bin provided and household sorting their kitchen waste. So again, the receptacles have been designed in order to fit and to collect the kitchen waste provided, preventing garden waste and other non-compostable waste streams to be collected conveniently. And so again, some good practices can be found in Germany, in Slovakia, and in Italy, in the south of Milan. So again, the design of the scheme has really tailored these tools according to the needs of households and to the expected volumes of waste to be sorted. Another aspect which maybe wasn't underlined, but I think it's worth underlining, are the frequencies of collection. You know that when we use technical wording, we say that municipal solid waste is a solid waste, but especially bio-waste behaves like water. It goes into those collection tools which are emptied more frequently. So all three cases have tried to organize or to reorganize their waste collection frequencies in order to collect kitchen waste more frequently than residual waste. I use an abbreviation here. RW means residual waste or mixed municipal waste. KW is kitchen waste. So again, the message for household is deliver your kitchen waste to the most frequently emptied bin so that it is convenient for you. And again, this is increasing the frequencies of collection, and it is increasing the amounts of paper that households sort into the right bin. Inefficient schemes, there are a number around Europe, are collecting kitchen waste less frequently than residual waste. And the question arises, guess where the kitchen waste is going? And obviously, part of that is unfortunately still going into the residual waste bin. All three experiences and speakers gave us an insight of their communication participation. And especially the last question done to Simone is putting the attention also on inspections and fines. Let me add a third comment, which is feedback. Door-to-door schemes are aimed to be structured in a way that we can give a feedback to households, ideally to the single household, normally in high-rise building situations like cities, to a group of households when the kitchen waste is contaminated by plastics, metals, and glass. Basically, these are the three enemies of organic waste, of bio-waste recycling. I'm not going into detail today because in each of the three cases, this type of feedback scheme is developed in a different way, but especially the presentation of Ivana focused on that you have to create the legal infrastructure, the local regulation, and of course also the team who is inspecting these kind of waste recyclables before starting the collection. So when we worked, in my case, I supported both Milan and Bratislava. This was one aspect we specifically addressed because we know that in biorecycling, it is even more important than for other recycling schemes like packaging waste to start with a clean feedstock or bio-waste. And let me just summarize the recycling results from these three cases we showed today. Based on the presentation, I briefly graphed the amounts per capita in year on the left-hand side of the three cities. And important to recyclers, and as I said today, I'm broadcasting from a biogas facility, is the amounts of rejects or of contaminants that we expect. And ideally, each facility aims to have a contamination which is normally expressed as quantity per fresh matter, which is below 2%. And as you can see, the results are different, but especially in Italy, where I'm broadcasting from, we classify high quality material, something which has a contamination between 2.5 and 5%. So the message is, if you realize the schemes correctly, if you put a significant attention on quality, you are able to divert significant amounts of waste from disposal towards recycling. And I think the graphics and the numbers are self-explaining. So these were basically my brief comments about the three cases. And of course, I'm open for more questions, and also the other speakers are still online. Last but not least, if you like to be updated about what BIOBEST project is doing, we are going to prepare a number of further events during this year. And by next year, we're going to present a set of 4 handbooks regarding bio-waste recycling. So going from collection up to treatment facilities. Well, yourself this internet address and inscribe yourself to BioBest newsletter. Again, thank you very much for joining us today. And I hand over to you, Manon, so that we have time for questions and answers.
Thank you. So we have about 5 minutes for more questions. And actually, before to get into the Q&A box, there was like a discussion in the chat that I think is interesting and would be a good moment to address. So Isabel was mentioning that in their factory, they have to filter out the majority of the biodegradable bags, but they prefer no compostable bags at all. The reason why is that the composting process lasts 2-3 weeks, while for compostable bags, it would take up to 6 weeks to actually turn into compost. So she mentioned the fact that sometimes for items to be labeled like compostable, it doesn't mean they match the technology that is currently being used. So I was wondering personally if this is like an issue that you've been confronted with, and if there isn't any way actually to answer to that in the collection process.
First of all, since I was presenting, I wasn't spotting the question and answer chat. Are we talking about a composter facility or a biogas facility in Isabel's case? Because this bias the answers. If we imagine it is a compost facility, I may comment that this applies also to wood, which is an element which is needed for composting. So, of course, composting for 3 weeks is a very short period, and it is getting you, I would say, a highly fresh and unstabilized compost. So, of course, these kind of bags have not been conceived to disintegrate in 3 weeks. They are normally tested in 12 weeks. The point is that at the end of a composting process, if it's that what we're talking about, you normally sieve off the finished compost. And speaking frankly, if you talk to an agronomist and to a soil expert, having a compost which has been treated for 3 weeks is a very fresh material, so it has very limited applications. And in the BIOBEST project, we focus also on the quality of the compost which goes to soils. This has to be considered. But saying that, if a composting material has not fully disintegrated, and one example is wood, the other can be compostable plastics, well, in that case, if you recirculate the bulking agent, as we call it, at the second or third turnaround, it will compost. And the counterexample is wood. Wood doesn't disintegrate in 3 weeks. It will need half a year or a year or so. Of course, if it's going to anaerobic digestion only, that's another issue. In that case, but I think the wording should be clear, compostable plastics in AD only won't work. But that's why, for example, the country where I'm broadcasting from, Italy, has built up their infrastructure for kitchen waste recycling by having combined facilities which do anaerobic digestion and which then compost the compostable bags which are left over in the digester.
Super important point, I think, to clarify today. Thank you. So we have a few more questions. One might be for Simone from Teresa Guerrero, who's broadcasting from Catalonia in Spain. She's asking, given that the Milan model is actually building by building, do you think that a locked container assigned to each building would have the same results? Simone, you are muted. You're still muted.
Okay. Now, okay. No, I didn't get the question. So the
she's asking if you think that a locked container assigned to each building would have the same results than the current system you have.
So not one container, but a container for each house. No, what is
no? The question is, Simone, since they are collecting part of garden waste into the food waste bin, do you think that a locked container is going, I understand the question like this, is going to eliminate the garden waste, such as flowers and leaves?
But no, but the green waste is very few in our waste bin, so it's just less than 3%. So we don't have this issue of green waste, of too much green waste in the brown bin. So because mainly high-rise buildings don't have just have a few leaves or so some flowers, so not much green waste, so it's not an issue with
I think one thing she meant, maybe the question wasn't clear from the beginning, what she means is like if you have a container in the street assigned to a specific block of buildings, would that have in your view the same result than this current system where each building is like a room?
Okay.
Sorry, the question wasn't clear and she precisely.
No. Okay, I'm sorry. No, so you mean a street container? So no. Of course, no. You're having the bins inside the building has much higher quality because the bins is kept inside the building all the time. So all the people from the building can access these bins and no one else. If it's in the streets, we have in Italy we have many cases, and if they are not locked, but even if they are locked, people tend not to have the same you know, attention to the quality. So
I think if I may, you lose the feedback mechanism that you have with door-to-door schemes. And Simone was telling us that they are finding the whole building community, but that's one of the aspects. So you have a common control scheme, which with road containers are basically impossible.
Exactly. I think that answered quite well the question. Thank you to you both. I think this is time, unfortunately, to slowly start closing this webinar. We have 3 more minutes, and I would like to share with you a few reminders and events and links that might be interesting for all of you. So first of all, ZeroS Europe is organizing a study tour this October from Monday 23rd to Wednesday 25th in Barcelona, and we'll focus on reuse, but also on good BioBEST collection practices. And there are still a few spots available and a few days left before we close the registration. We will put now the link in the chat for the registration form. And yeah, you can find more information, of course, on our website. On the last day of the study tour, very important for you all, there will be the first BioBEST capacity building workshop. So this event will be hybrid, which means that we will also broadcast on Zoom and also conduct it, of course, in person. And we still have also a few online and in-person spots available. So the workshop is called Unlocking Efficiencies, Strategies for Building a High-Performing Municipal BioBEST System. And it aims to equip local and regional officials with the knowledge and tools to help with the implementation of an efficient separate BioBEST system within their municipalities. You will also find the link right now in the chat to register and find more information about this workshop. Now, a more targeted invitation to any local authority or waste management company interested in supporting BioBEST management. So our partner, like one of the partners of the BioBEST project, ACR Plus, is organizing a working group in the framework of the Live BioBEST project. This working group will take place online, and it will be Monday, the 16th of October from 2 to 4:30. And the aim of the event is to discuss together best practices, but also the indicators that have been developed in the BioBEST project to support the development of BioBEST management strategy at local level, but also to support the elaboration of future guidelines for the sector. So this is going to be an important event. And if you are interested, you can find the link as well in the chat box to register with a brief description of the agenda. Again, this event will be on the 16th of October from 2 to 4:30. And of course, don't forget to check out the website, livebiobest.eu. You will also have a link here in the chat, and to see how you can sign there for the BioBEST newsletter, PR list, and also become part of our supporting stakeholders network. You can find all this information on the website. So please go have a look. So thanks everyone for attending this webinar again. And of course, thank you to all the panelists for your contribution. Every presentation I think was excellent. And of course, good luck to all of you who are starting or continuing their journey towards efficient BioBEST collection. Thank you and have a very nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, thank you.